Hello, YouTube. This is about the mystery of Northern Lights near Moscow. Let me tell you what happened in Russia, and not really only Russia, not long ago, but it fits the pattern of changes that our planet has been subjected to in the last few months. The photographs included are also from neighboring countries, and the photos of the Northern Lights appeared in the Moscow region at night on April 23 to 24, 2023. Russian journalist Evgeny Arsyukhin provided precise and concrete details of what he has experienced. Very interesting. Let's hear him out. His information is from April 24. A magnetic storm on the night from Sunday to Monday was expected on Earth. It was already known that on April 21, a powerful flash occurred in the sun. Charged plasma flew in our direction, so the aurora borealis was also expected. I was also waiting for it. What is the aurora borealis near Moscow? A faint glow at the northern horizon, which you won't notice without a camera with a long shutter speed. Sometimes red columns go up. The main show takes place far to the north. Insignificant echoes reach our latitudes. So I plan to monitor the parameters of the space weather. They're published on the web, and if the numbers are high, try to notice something. But the reality turned out to be different. Around 22 hours, I went outside in my village in the north of the Moscow region to photograph the moon and Venus. They got closer and presented a beautiful sight. But at 22 hours, 3 seconds, the frame began to light up with some kind of red glow. I decided that I had caught the light of an distant bolide and did another take. To my surprise, the redness only intensified. Then I finally tore my head off the equipment and I couldn't believe my eyes. A wave of red neon smoke was rapidly rising from the northwest. In the blink of an eye, an infernal glow engulfed the entire sky directly overhead. At the zenith, green ribbons unfolded. Green flickering, shape-shifting rays rose above the northwestern horizon and rushed to the zenith. Then there was a wave of dazzling red haze, which clearly outlined was heading south to the west. Immediately, as if on command, the surrounding dogs in the area began to roar. The birds took to the air and began to fly chaotic circles around the background of the pulsating sky. I understood that it was the aurora borealis and it could not be anything else, but I have been to the north many times and have not seen the brightest lights there. Perhaps I was unlucky. Everything was filled with some kind of green fog. The sky was glowing green, and this electric haze seemed to descend to the ground. It was physically difficult to breathe. The feeling of anxiety turned into a slight panic. I realized that the show was unfolding at an altitude of hundreds, maybe thousands of kilometers above me, and the neon fog could not be here at arm's length, but it was here. Perhaps the movement of the magnetosphere could have generated airwaves, and they caused infrasound, a sound of very low frequency that the ear does not hear. Infrasound causes a feeling of anxiety. But I couldn't help myself. Suddenly, everything stopped. The sky, as if devastated, devoid of stars, hung like a black dome. As it turned out, this was just the beginning. I went back to the equipment. My head was buzzing. My gaze fell to the northeast. A red glow like a searchlight was slowly rising from the horizon. It's like a Star Wars hero slowly uncovering his lightsaber. It was 22 hours and 15 minutes. I stared with all my eyes at the red pillar, narrow and outlined. Meanwhile, it reached the zenith. Other beams followed it, some blood red, some purple, like the lights of a neon advertisement. A moment later, the northeastern horizon began to glow with a green curtain. It was impossible to take your eyes off it. Only 10 minutes later that I looked around. To the south, an arc of green clouds and red flames sparkled. It was almost motionless. Coming out of the horizon in the southeast, it rose high into the sky above the very south and rested on the horizon in the southwest. It didn't stay alone. If the tongues of red flame were almost motionless, that the green clouds pulsed, becoming bright, and then the color was easily distinguished by the eye, and then faded, and then they could easily be confused with ordinary clouds. The aurora borealis in the south, have you heard of this? It was about 10:30. People began to gather on the street. It was as if something was driving them outside at this hour. They felt anxious. Some asked, "Is that how the clouds glow?" "No," I explained. "The clouds are much lower, and they should have blocked the radiance. It's something glowing up there high above us." At 23 hours 15 minutes, I decided to take a wide picture of the entire sky. What I saw was amazing. In fact, the flashes in the north and the green clouds in the south were only the most noticeable elements of this phantasmagoria. The whole sky was glowing red. We were under an electric dome between two vortices of cosmic energy. As if confirming, the camera lit up, and its strange interference began to form on the camera matrix, as if you were photographing through gauze. Of course, it was the influence of atmospheric electricity on fragile electronics. And what is simpler technique? Radio, for example, a magnetic storm is primarily a violation of radio communication and the frenzy of the compass needle. I have a very accurate geodetic compass. Its arrow never stays still because the Earth's magnetosphere is always moving a little. I took out the device, placing it away from the metal, and stared at the arrow. It was completely motionless, and it seemed strange. According to the arrow, there was no storm, or we were in the middle of a cyclone. Like on a ship, when after a storm that ship gets into the eye of an atmospheric vortex, and a dead calm sets in. And what about the radio? I'm turning it on. What kind of communication disruption is there? The air is full of radio stations, those that have never been heard, on medium waves, all of Europe, all of Asia, where there are usually 1 to 2 stations, there are dozens. It is the same on the long ones. Strange crackle sounds are heard from time to time, but on such waves, all crackle sounds are strange. The most incredible thing, however, happened on the FM channel. Usually we do not hear distant, more than 100 kilometers FM stations, because a wave of this length goes in a straight line, and there should be direct visibility almost between the transmitter and receiver. And today, a hodgepodge of stations. There are 2 or 3 stations on the same wave. It's 1 o'clock in the morning in Salihard. Wait, in Salihard? Kaliningrad is right there. There are also dozens of low-power stations that broadcast on Yamal, near Murmansk, in Taimyr. Suddenly I detect a voice, as if slowed down and turned the other way around. It is superimposed on another, also distorted transmission. I'm listening carefully. This is the reflection of a radio wave from the curtain of the aurora borealis. So they should look like this. I've read about it, but I haven't heard about it yet. Meanwhile, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. The bridge in the south burned down. The red bonfires and the green arch slowly dissolved, but in the north it doesn't stop. It will almost disappear, but the green cloud, almost motionless, continues to flicker at the horizon. Then suddenly red pillars will rise up, and it seems that everything is about to happen again. But it does not happen again. A minute passes by and there are no pillars. We entered the new day with a glow on the northern horizon. The remnants of the radiance merged with the morning dawn. Here's the comment from a scientist, Valery Petrov, head of the Direction of the Earth Alternating Magnetic Field of the Institute of Terrestrial Magnetism and Radio Waves, Izmiran. This is the institute, by the way, that was engaged in the top secret Soviet UFO research back in late 1970s and on. This was the primary institution. Here's what he said. Last night there was a very strong geomagnetic disturbance. The maximum phase showed a score of 8 with a maximum of 9, and it lasted 2 hours. Then within 6 hours also a very decent disturbance, 6 points. I don't remember that. If the aurora is strong, it shifts to the south. This is a natural. When you see diffuse clouds during the aurora borealis, it is the light caused by protons, and sharper, faster formations are the work of the hands of electrons. It is strange that a stable arch of the aurora borealis hung over the southern horizon. I can assume that the matter is in the ring current, which always exists in the ionosphere. These ring currents are quite stable and cover the Earth at an altitude of 24 to 25,000 kilometers. Along the route of this current, there may be eruptions of charged particles, although usually such phenomena are visible at a latitude of about 60 to 65 degrees, and here at the latitude of Moscow, 55 degrees. And anomalous radiance in the south, by the way, was seen up to the Ryazan, according to the newspaper. It was a natural phenomenon. A person can produce faint auroras. Electronic guns are installed on satellites like a cathode ray tube in a TV, and they shoot at the magnetosphere from it. But such artificial lights are very weak. They can only be observed with a special equipment. The scale of energies that nature demonstrates is not yet available to man. So this is what I wanted to let you know. And just to add, on the night of April 24, the northern lights were visible in Moscow, France, Poland, and even in Mexico. In general, it can be seen at both poles, so it's more correct to say aurora borealis, actually. Do not be afraid if you see it in the sky. This means that the natural defense system of our planet is withstanding another attack right now.